First Nations in the Yukon say they're not happy about recent amendments to the territory's mining regulations, and they're calling on the government to repeal them. In May, the Yukon government announced temporary amendments to the territory's placer, quartz, and water regulations to ease a backlog of permit approvals and license renewals. They allow eligible operators to continue working while waiting for project approvals. But that's news to First Nations who say they weren't consulted about the changes. Concerns about the amendments were raised at the Council of Yukon First Nations Annual General Assembly last month. The Council, which represents 10 First Nations in the Yukon, passed a resolution calling for an urgent repeal of the amendments and direct engagement with them to address the permitting backlog. The Trondeck-Gwitchin First Nation in Dawson City, whose traditional territory is a hotspot for placer mining, is taking particular aim at the amendments. It said in a release it's not opposed to responsible mining, but feels the amendments violate its treaty rights and doesn't address the permitting issue at hand, stating, "Yukon government should be familiar with the cyclical nature of mining permits and their corresponding expiries. This surge in permit renewals is entirely foreseeable and could have been addressed by the government with adequate resourcing and capacity." But the Yukon government says the extensions only apply to activities that have already undergone thorough review under the territory's Environmental Assessment Act, which includes consultation with affected First Nations. It also says no new activities or expansions are authorized under the amendments. The Council of Yukon First Nations resolution calls for an emergency meeting within 30 days if the government fails to take action. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.